Mike Attic. If you're new, you're probably like scared as shit. Just realize, rest on the oasis that 9 is on down in the steps. You don't have to worry about this right now. What I have found is that as I worked the steps, I was able better to see the need and why I really was making amends. And a lot of times it had less to do with getting the heat off, which is what it would have been all about when I just got out of treatment. I want to get the heat off so they'll give me that checkbook again or something. So if you work the steps, you'll see things differently, and don't be afraid talking about it now because you're not on that step right now. One of the most wise things I've ever heard said in a meeting, let me preface this with, I think a lot of people get tripped up on, they're scared to do 4 because they're caught up on who am I going to trust for 5. Because that's a big deal. You don't want to tell somebody something and then they get pissed off at you the next week and they're sharing your shit in a meeting, which I have seen before, and that never ends well. Or they're so afraid of doing the list because they're scared of the amends. And then this person in NA said, do 4 as if there's no 5 and do 8 as if there's no 9. And I thought that was very, very wise. And it took me a long time to really get what that meant. Is I need to compartmentalize those steps and don't hamstring myself on 4 because I'm worried about 5. I need to do that step and then worry about 5 after. And I need to make the list and do 8 as if there is no 9. That's just the way he said it. I mean, I find the wisdom in it now. I didn't then. So if you're sitting there going, that's fucking stupid, that's okay. If you stick around as long as I have, you may see it differently. You may not. You may be a dry drunk for 30 years. I don't fucking know. But I do know that I see it differently now, and I have a message to carry to newcomers because these are some very scary steps. Another thing I used to hear people say is they would do their 4-step, and then somebody would tell them, their sponsor, who I know now has never read the book, go burn the thing or go bury it. That used to be this thing that people would talk about. And of course I didn't know any better because I had not read the book yet either. But interestingly enough, in the step 8 reading in the big book, it talks about making our list, and he said, you've already made it. You made your list when you took inventory. Oops, I burned it. Yeah, they just failed to read that part, right? Just never mind, it says, you're going to need this, dummy. Oops, I burned it. So what is it really saying? We get caught up into this loop of, who do I need to make amends to? Can I find somebody that'll tell me I don't need to make amends to this one or this one? And we get caught up into whether or not we should make it when I'm making the list. That's not the time to get caught up into that, right? It's to just list. It said all the names I had on my 4-step is my list. It just said it. Now, of course, I'm going to add some, maybe a few. But the thing about it is that when we get caught up into that loop of people, and I can see it, we look for excuses not to make this one, then this one, then this one. Isn't there some that we know goddamn well we need to make that we can focus on first? I mean, can we stop the bullshit for just a minute? Isn't there a few that we know damn well that we don't need to debate? Because I'm here to tell you, just a few amends gives me the motivation, man. I don't want to have to go make amends. I think I'm going to stop breaking in that house. Or I'm going to stop stealing from that whatever. Or I'm going to stop doing this and that. Make a few of them amends. The reason the amends is before 10, 11, and 12, it gives me the motivation to live differently. Like he just said, if I thought I could just get off scot-free, I've not had to pay any repercussions at all. I had them all fooled and I skated. 9 says, you just thought you skated. We need to make something right. And by the making right, when the time comes, I really get the motivation to live differently, because when I had to stand in front of the guy that I broke in his house and say the script, I don't ever want to have to do that again. Facing some of these fears, you look back on them, you're able to share about it in a meeting. the most valuable fucking thing you could ever do. Because you stepped out on fear, on principle, did something that doesn't seem to have anything to do with what I thought my problem was when I got here, which was dope, and it's y'all's fucking fault for everything. I do these things that sound like they have nothing to do with what my problem, and all of a sudden, in the midst of doing all these steps, my problem becomes solved, and I don't look to alcohol or drugs to solve anything anymore. I don't want the shit. The idea of getting high or drinking something sounds about as appealing to me as Drano. I highly recommend that feeling to you. So, the wisdom of what I heard early on, do 4 as if there's no 5. Do 8 as if there's no 9. And how about save that 4th step, because you just might need it. I've had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps, and I'll pass.